Good morning guys, great to be back out. Look at this behind us, isn't it great? We've got these huge boulders covered in the mosses. Now this area that I'm at the moment, I've just headed up the forest road there and I thought I'll pull over. I wanted to check out these boulders because there really are some find. Now I know that already that people come in this area to do the rock climbing, practice rock climbing on these boulders because they are so big. And they're very similar to the boulders and the rock face on the Chief there. Because I am below the Chief again, I've came out to the same area of forest I was in my last video, but I wanted to explore more. You know, I enjoyed it that much last time that I was sure there's more compositions to be had in this area, so that's why I've came back just to see what I can come across. So these boulders, they are huge. The only thing is the foreground in this area, because people do use them for practicing rock climbing, the foreground's quite trodden on, so it's not very picturesque. So what I want to do is I want to have a look around this area. It'd be a shame not to photograph them, see if I can incorporate them into an image before I head further into this forest. Now luckily I'm not that far off the forest road that leads up to where I was last week, so I've just pulled over, came in here, and we'll see what we can capture. But it really is nice. Now we are starting to get fall colour. Some of the leaves are already starting to fall because we've had a hot summer, but there is some colour there. We've got some yellows, some oranges, some greens, and we've got some ferns. They haven't died off too much yet, so maybe I can use the ferns, incorporate these boulders along with some of the forest background. Now sunrise is in about another 10-15 minutes. It is raining at the moment unfortunately, but it is planned to stop, so we'll just cross our fingers on that one. But I'm really looking forward to searching more of this forest and see if we can find any more images. So I've had a good look around this area. It really is great. It's great just to explore. Totally new thing to photograph. You know, normally I'm photographing boulders down by the river, but today I've came into this part of the forest. We've got some nice light from the sky. We're getting some reflective light coming down. There's a little bit of an opening in this part of the forest, so it's really highlighting some of the edges and the surface of these boulders. But not only that, we've got the lovely greens. The ferns are still quite alive, they haven't died off yet, so they've got some nice vibrant greens there. But in amongst all these greens, we've got some of these leaves that have still got some of the colour that have fallen, but they're adding colour to the foreground as well. And we've just got some nice mosses on the trees. It is still raining, but it's quite sheltered in here. So this is what I'm going to go for, and I'll talk you through my composition. So I've got those three boulders that lead over, and we've got these trees. Now managed to separate the trees. I've got some nice highlights on them. The edges are coated in the moss, and on the fronts are like a really light colour, so it's a nice contrast in the trees there. And I've managed to separate them, so they're going to be in the centre of the frame. Now to fill my foreground, I've used these ferns in the immediate foreground. Now I've tilted the camera slightly up so I can discard the beginning of the shot, because at the beginning of the shot it's just ground where it's been trodden on. So this is going to grace the centre of my image. We're going to have some nice colour off those leaves that have fallen. And then further over to your right hand side, we've got some lovely trees with the mosses on, but above that we've got some of these leaves that haven't fallen yet, but they have turned colour, some oranges and greens there, some yellows. And then that leads over to the boulder to your far right hand side. It's catching some nice light on the surface there. It's coated with some of the leaves, and that's going to frame the right hand side of the shot. But what a great little find, so close to the trailhead where I came in, but it really is great. Now we haven't got any bright light in there at the moment, so it's nice and diffused. I've put the polarizer on. There's a bit of glare on these ferns because it's raining obviously, so I've used the polarizer. Now when I put the polarizer on, it has extended that shutter speed, but luckily there's no breeze whatsoever today, so I'm managing to get away with round about 3 seconds at the moment. So I'm going to try some at f8. There's no need to focus stack because beyond the boulders and these trees it is quite messy. You know, every now and again we do get some low cloud in there, some early morning fog, but it's very fine. So it doesn't matter if the immediate background there, the far background, sorry, doesn't matter if that's slightly out of focus because it's quite messy and chaotic. The main thing is to get everything in this foreground. This is what it's about. It's about the boulders, the ferns and the trees, and we'll see how we get on. I might try some at f11 as it does get a little bit brighter. We'll see how we get on. What a great find. So I'm gonna get this shot. I am gonna scour this area before I leave, just in case there's another composition I can come across. Well, you'll probably be able to see different location. I've moved on, I've moved a bit further into the forest and I'm back at this river. This river's beautiful today. It's running really quick. We've had a lot of rain through the week, so it is running a lot faster today in comparison to what it was like when I was last here. Now, I did try for other shots where those boulders were, but it was really hard to come across compositions, and the main reason being lots of people have been there, so trying to keep that foreground and the ground itself out the shot was quite tricky. Now, the composition that I took, I think it's definitely the best in that area. I spent another good 40-50 minutes trying to find something else. Now, the main reason that composition worked is I was shooting towards where the mountain was, so it meant I could keep that sky out the shot. Now, that's going to be very similar to the shot I'm about to take. So I've headed further into the forest. Beautiful day, it really is. It's slightly overcast. We've been getting fog from time to time, but it doesn't penetrate the forest much. Now, the main attraction for this image, what attracted us to this area that I'm at now, was these lovely mossy boulders. We've got these rocks, bits of trees, bits of tree trunks, and they're all covered with that green moss. Being highlighted, we've got some ambient light from the sky coming in, so they're lovely and highlighted. There's plenty of texture, loads of forms and shapes there. Now, I'm shooting in this direction because in that direction, that's where the sun's coming up. And the main reason being, I wanted to incorporate all this, so you can see to my left hand side. This was the main feature that I wanted, and then I just had to put the puzzle together to make it work with the water itself. So what I've done is you're going to have this moss and these rocks and boulders to the right hand side of the frame, and it comes over to where I'm standing now, and there's some visible boulders in this river here, so it comes over to the mid-ground and it gives that foreground a bit of interest. And then I've tilted the camera forward, got it up at the right height, because the problem we have is because the river's going down the way, if I get the camera too low, it flattens the river off and you can't see where the river's going to. So I've got it at the best height that I can, just so you can see where the river's going. The boulders are going to help with that, it's going to give it some body. What I want to do is to keep that sky out the shot, is just use the top of these trees. We've got some lovely mossy branches coming in, so So that's the idea around this shot. So I'm basically filling the edges of this image with lots of interest, lots of colour, and then you're just simply going to have this river running through the centre. Now I put the 35mm on again, I put the polarizer on. There is a lot of glare today, there's a lot of sheen because we've had a lot of rain, and I'm looking at round about a 1/6 of a second, similar to last time. It's just a shutter speed that I like for water, and it is running quicker today, so it should grab the image pretty well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what it's going to look like. I just have to get back and take it. So I'm going to get back to the camera, take this image, and I'll put it on the screen above. Now I've been here for a good 10-15 minutes scratching my head, trying to come up with a composition, trying to see how I can make the scene work. Now the problem I'm having is, you'll see this boulder to my right hand side. It's great, it's got green mosses on, it's catching highlights from the sky, catching that light from the sky, but it's cutting off part of the waterfall to the left. We've got the falls to the left, we've got some falls in the mid-ground, and some falls to the right hand side. Going in between all these boulders, they're coated in those green mosses. We have got some autumn colour, we've got some foliage leaning over the falls itself, so I want to try and incorporate all that into an image. What a treat to come across, just making our way through these trails in this glorious forest. And it's just endless the amount of photo opportunities that there is in here, so it's a cracking location. So I'm going to get back to the camera and I'm going to try and work out a composition, because I do want to include all the falls. So that's what I've got to concentrate on now. Well, this was my only option to get this shot. I'm determined to get the shot, determined to get separation as much as I can with these falls. There was no point in getting my feet wet. It is pretty cold, the water, and it's quite deep. So luckily, I've got this mossy boulder, and the fact that it's covered in moss means I can get some form of grip on this rock. So I've lowered my tripod and got it in a position where I can get more over to the right in a shot from these falls from the front. And I'm going to try and grab this image. I'll put some video up so you can see what I'm taking, you can see what I'm seeing. But it's a glorious scene, it really is. We've got these boulders all in between these falls. Now in the foreground there, I've got a nice boulder, it's got some mosses on, it's got some leaves on. Then it leads over to that boulder that I was on about before, to the right there, to the left hand side, sorry. And then because I've got up onto this mossy boulder, I can see more of that waterfall to the left hand side, and that's what was key about trying to elevate myself as much as I can to get this shot. Now I have got a branch coming over the scene. It's got a little bit of fall colour there, not an awful lot, but it's still adding some interest to the image itself, because we've got the greens, some oranges, some yellows. So it works really well as a forest scene. I thought I'd knock my tripod over. So this is the image I'm going to go for. Now I should be able to get this shot at f8 because I'm quite far off the foreground. Now the fact that I've put the polarizer on means you can see under the water as well. So it fills in that area. Rather than it just being water, you can actually see some of the boulders under the water, so it adds interest in the bottom left of the frame. Then you've got the immediate boulder in the foreground leading over to these falls, and then it just drifts off into the background. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how this one turns out. It really looks well on back of camera. Just proves if you can get yourself in some funny positions, but as long as you get the shot, that's the main thing, and do it safely. Look at this behind us. We're getting some amazing atmosphere in the background. Now it is really overcast still, but every now and again we get some breaks in the light and it's creating this atmosphere. We're getting some mist in the background there, and it looks really great in amongst this river and the forest here. You know, we had really dark, gloomy conditions earlier on. We didn't have any light, but now it seems to have perked up a bit for the time being. Now we still are getting periods of rain from time to time. You'll be able to see the scene's darkened again. It's really overcast today, so it's a bit of a struggle, but just for moments like this, when it all comes together and we get some of those conditions, I'm frantically looking about, seeing what I can come across. So this scene that I've got here, I'm basically just wanting to capture that atmosphere behind us, and I'm going to fill the scene with interest using this river. A little fall leading down in between these rocks here, so I'm going to see if I can find a composition to include this breaking round these rocks here. But really is, when we get that little bit of light, it just adds that little bit more to the image. So thrilled to bits that I've stopped in this location. It's spectacular, it really is, and it's just full of surprises. The further you go into this forest, the more images you come across, and it's just a place to come to time and time again. Well, you'll be able to see by the smile on my face what an amazing time I had there. I was darting about the rocks, I was like a kid in a candy store. A lot of that atmosphere is gone now, and a lot of that light that we were getting is gone. But what a brilliant change to the day it was. You know, it started off really wet, really gloomy. I was hopeful that it was going to clear a little bit, but I didn't expect to get what I've just had there. So it's been an absolute blessing. Now it just goes to show, get out the front door and it's gloomy and it's raining, continue out with your camera, because you never know, that might all change. You know, it's just been brilliant. Now when you do get those conditions, it just goes to show, you know, it saves all that work in post. Nature's already done the work for you, so you don't have to do a lot when you come to editing it, because it's created all that light, all that atmosphere, thanks to nature. But it's been brilliant. But it is a lot later in the morning now. You'll be able to see we've lost a lot of that atmosphere, a lot of that light. There could be a chance it's going to rain again, so I'm going to head back to Squamish. But it's been an absolute brilliant day. It really has, and I hope you've enjoyed it too. So if you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget to leave a comment below. Let us know what you thought of the video, the images and the location itself. It's brilliant, and I can't wait to explore more of it. If you haven't seen my channel before, hit the subscribe button. But from me and this glorious river, thanks for watching. Until next time, bye bye.